Hi, I'm Philip Speer. I'm the pastry chef at Uchi Restaurant in Austin, Texas. And today I'm going to make for you a peanut butter semifreddo. This is a really simple recipe using just a few ingredients. I have whipped cream, or not whipped yet. So we have heavy cream. And I'm just going to put that into my tabletop mixer. You can use a whisk if you'd like. You really just want to whip your cream to full peaks. At this point, I'm going to add the vanilla, and this is just a vanilla extract, and we're going to continue to whip this till it gets to the stiff, soft peaks. Okay, so we're just going to take this whipped cream and reserve it for folding in later. And you always want to refrigerate this. It's best to use the coldest possible cream. Next, we're going to take cream cheese, and I've let this soften to about room temperature. Just let it sit out for about an hour. And we're going to cream that with sugar. Now, once that's fully incorporated, I'm going to take about a third of the whipped cream and add it back in. This is going to just loosen up the mixture after I add the peanut butter, so it's not so thick, and it'll be easier to fold in to the rest of the whipped cream. At this point, I'm going to salt the mixture as well. All right, now that that's fully incorporated, I'm going to add the peanut butter last. I want to scrape down the sides of the bowl to make sure the mixture is consistent. Now, if you don't have one of these tabletop mixers at home, you could whisk the cream by hand, and you could do most of this in the food processor. Your base is nice and uniform. Take that chilled whipped cream. Make sure we have all of this mixed really well. And we're just gonna fold it into the whipped cream. And this is a pretty dense recipe, so you don't need to fold it so gently. You really just want to mix it in together, and you want that to be a nice uniform color. And so what I want to do at this point is I have a prepared pan, and it's just a little baking tray with some plastic wrap. You can use just about anything you want. You could put it in different molds to mold different shapes. It's a pretty resilient mousse. And then once you freeze it, you can pop it out of whatever kind of mold you want to put it in. I like to just do a bar shape. So I'm going to put it into a cookie tray, and then once it's frozen, we'll cut rectangles out of it. And then we're just going to pop this in the freezer, and want to let it freeze for a minimum of 4 hours. Overnight works well. We're going to make the golden raisin puree. Here I have some golden raisins. They're also called sultanas. You can get them at any grocery store. And I'm going to put these in a pot. with some water. And here's a little bit of mirin, which also you can get at any grocery store now. And then some sake. And this is a pretty decent quality sake, but you know, you don't have to go too crazy spending money on sake. We are just gonna cook it for the raisins. So we're gonna put this on the stove and let it come to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, we're gonna remove it from the heat and let the raisins steep for about 30 minutes. So our golden raisins have rehydrated in the liquid, and we're actually gonna use all this liquid and the raisins. And it's very simple. We're just gonna puree them in the blender. So I've waited until these rehydrated and cooled because I also don't want the blender to explode. Sometimes if you puree something that's too hot, pressure will build up and the blender will pop. Okay, now once blended, just want to reserve in an airtight container and chill until use. Now we're going to do a plate up of the peanut butter semifreddo. I've taken this while it's frozen and sliced it into nice rectangles and let it sit in the refrigerator for a little bit just to soften up. So it's semifreddo. It's part frozen. I take a little bit of peanut butter powder. I've used a little tapioca starch to make this. A little bit of ground peanut brittle. And this, I just made peanut brittle and put it in the food processor to grind it up, and it gives you a really nice crunchy texture and adds a little bit of sweetness as well. Then I have some rehydrated golden raisins. Then I'm going to take some of that golden raisin puree. That adds just a nice little tartness that'll sort of cut all those rich flavors. And next we'll have the apple miso sorbet, and this gives it just like a little savory, salty element on the dish. And then we'll use a little bit of dehydrated apple chip. And finish with some micro wasabi for a little bit of heat. Funny about this dessert, it's one of our biggest selling desserts at the restaurant, but it was inspired from my daughter's dessert, my daughter Ella. It was from her sack lunch one day. We had a peanut butter sandwich, an apple, some chips, and some golden raisins. So I just started thinking and made a dessert from that, and this is what we came up with. It's, peanut butter semifreddo with apple miso sorbet and golden raisin puree.